Hello everyone. Today I have a very simple Flins lunar charged deck right here. I'm really just going to go over the basics. The deck itself isn't anything special, but we are utilizing some small little tricks to boost Flins's damage a bit further, but this is mostly just a quick what you can do with Flins sort of deck. Of course, we are going for the full Notcry cast here with Aino and Inefa. We are going to go over Flins's kit in the first replays, but quickly going over the deck, new cards mostly, because this, if you look at this is very close to what Inefa Lunar Charged watch like last patch, very close to that. Seeing we have a Genius's upgrade to Rush, Aino Burst, and of course Aino's talent card for a bit of extra damage. New cards which we do have, Netochka, very good if you play this when you are about to do a reaction. You don't want, like, you can play it as a sort of, oh, you have one die left over, play this on the field, that's good. Or play it immediately when you are about to do a Lunar Charged or Lunar Bloom reaction, because the battle plan, this is a -1 discount to your next element, next skill. Making it very, you know, it's 1-for-1 when you play it, so you want to play it immediately when you're about to do a reaction. And if you didn't know, your summons will activate this effect. So it's good to play this in the end phase, before you end your round, if you have like one die left over. The only other new card in this deck, the new Arcane Legend, other side of the Frost Moon. This is very, very strong. A free cost reduction every round. Like, I'm gonna call it, this card will get nerfed, because this, I think this should get nerfed at the very least. This is simply, like, this is +1 die for every round. The only way you don't get value out of this card is having only 0 cost cards in your hand. That's the only scenario where this card is useless. In every other scenario, this is just value every round. But other than that, Serai Island, you might be wondering why. Well, because of course, now that Lauma is in the game, Lauma has boost. A lot more people are playing Bloom. A lot of Bloom decks, or actually Lunar Bloom, I should say. They are going to. A lot of people are playing Lunar Bloom with Lauma. And when they are playing any sort of Bloom deck, if it isn't Kave, they most likely are running Double Hydra, and if they're running Double Hydra, they are running a lot of healing, in which case having Serai Island to punish them for that healing is good. I would actually even recommend, from how much I've actually seen Bloom decks, throw away a Mystic Soup and take double Serai Island, simply so that you can threaten or punish the opponents for running healing. But other than that, purposefully some 1 cost cards, because if you look at the deck, there is actually quite a lot of 0 cost cards. So the Arcane, the other side of the Frost Moon, isn't even the best Arcane for this deck specifically, because we have so many cheap cards. Like some other Arcane would probably do just as good, if not better job for you, but because it's a new card, I wanted to include it in the deck. As for the weapons, well, the Flame Forced Insight, this is just so we can boost Aino's damage a bit further, and since I'm only running one Aino talent card, having this weapon makes it easier so that we can reburst Aino with the talent card for that talent card extra damage. And the rightful rewards are here to boost Flins's damage. I'll explain that in the replays, to which we will jump right now. I only have 3 games for today, keeping it short and simple, because this deck really isn't like anything special. Like I said, the only really big deal I have in this deck is the Flins. We are utilizing a rightful reward mostly to give some extra damage for Flins. Now here in the first match we are against Lauma Lunar Bloom, and I suppose I could say, if you don't know Lunar Bloom, it does not work with Kave, it does not work with Nilou. So you should not use Kave or Nilou if you have a Lauma in your deck. But anyway, this isn't about Lauma. My next video will be about Lauma. This video is about Flins. And as the game goes on, you can see there, I played the Arcane card, immediate cost reduction. It doesn't really matter for this deck, it doesn't really matter which card it goes to, as long as we get that value. The game plan for this deck, very simple. Start with start with Inefa, do an Inefa skill, switch to Ino, do an Ino skill if you can. The important part is to get Inefa skill, because then we get Electro application for next round, but with Ino, if you have bad dice, you can simply do a normal attack, collecting Ino's burst. Why is this important? Because of Flint's passive skill. When you deal a Lunar Charge reaction, or more specifically, when Electric Shock is attached to the opposing character, their highest HP character takes 1 piercing damage. Much like how Inefa has the passive talent of attaching Untunable to a card which gets Electric Shock, Flins deals damage use other Kokomi took 1 piercing damage after the reaction. So Flins is exactly what I expected him to be, above to Lunar Charged damage. Like, I think when Inefa was released, I ranked Lunar Charge decks as mediocre at best. Last patch, when Ino was released along with the Nordcry Resonance cards, I ranked Lunar Charge to be like good, like slightly better than average, or actually better than average but not top tier. Now I'd say it's still not top tier, but it's like at the how should I put it? It's close to greatness. You can absolutely do very, very well with Flins, but it still doesn't quite compete with the best decks. By the way, there you saw that damage. Where did that damage come from? That was once again Flins's passive skill. So whenever Lunar Charge is attached to the opposing side's cards, their highest HP character takes 1 piercing damage. This actually means when you play Inefa's talent card, which applies to stacks of Lunar Charge, the opposing side immediately takes 2 damage. If you play it at the time when the opponent has ended their round and is no longer able to get rid of said cards, playing Inefa talent when you have Flins in your deck is basically guaranteed 4 damage. And that's why we have double Inefa talent in the deck. Why do I not have Flints's talent? Because Flints's talent only gives you energy, and Flints's talent is only really meaningful if you are going for the elemental burst. And as you can see, Flins needs 4 energy to do an elemental burst. Of course, a total of 10 damage from a 4/4 cost elemental burst, reasonable. Especially since if you combo this with, let's say, adapters, you can assume instantaneously taking out 1 character and dealing piercing damage to the off-field characters. The cost is, justified. But the important or the more interesting thing about Flins is, of course, the elemental skill. When you do it the first time, it is a simple 1 damage. I believe I do it right here. Simple 1. No, hold on. That was buffed by Ino's talent card. It is just 1 damage. The base damage. It is. Yeah, the deal 1 electro damage. Why it was buffed there by Ino's talent card, but it is just 1 damage. Yeah. But what makes it special? It is the follow-up. If you redo the skill when you have that... well, okay, firstly you can see there, when you do the skill your normal attacks deal 3 electro damage instead of just 2 normal attack, so you can consider it's a simple, you know, converts the normal attack into its own element and increases the damage. Nothing particularly new regarding that, you know, increased normal attack, but the interesting part is if you redo the elemental skill after the second time in a round, or more after the first time. Because the first time you do the elemental skill, you go into you get the manifest flame, which is the buff to normal attacks, but if you redo a skill after that, you consume 2 energy, and you do a prepare skill, Thunderous Symphony, which deal 2 electro damage. If you have Thundercloud, this right here, you do +2 damage. So, by the way, double Amrita, you know, Lauma is perfectly balanced, but like, once again, once I do a Lauma video, that's where you are going to see a lot more of that. Anyway, so if you have the Thundercloud and you redo Flins' elemental skill a second or third or fourth time in a round, you deal 4 damage. But what is the important part here? That is the fact that the Thunderous Symphony is an elemental burst. Do you know what that means? That means if you have right for reward, that skill will do +2 damage. Meaning, if you have Thundercloud and the weapon on Flins, the second elemental skill will deal 6 damage for 2 dice. Of course, you need 2 energy to do said skill, but when you already have right for reward slowly getting you extra energy, and remember, when you redo the elemental skill, even though it says it consumes energy, you actually gain 1 energy before the consumption happens. Meaning you only need 1 energy on Flins to do Thunderous Symphony. Where do you get that 1 energy from? You get it when you first time do the elemental skill.
Close your eyes.
So you do the elemental skill for 1 damage. Let's assume you have Thundercloud and the weapon equipped. You do the elemental skill a second time, you spend a total of 4 damage, 4 dice. You spend a total of 4 dice for what will be a total of 7 damage. 1 from the initial skill and a follow-up 6 from redoing the skill, with the 2 base damage +2 from the Thundercloud and +2 from the weapon. Now in the next match, if I remember correctly, we are going to see just that. Now for the second game we have Yelan Flins, and this is actually a pretty good aggressive Flins deck. Of course, if you know how to counterplay, in other words, if you empty your hand, my opponent's deck is nothing special. But if you are playing that deck and your opponent doesn't empty their hand before you are able to start spamming Flins' normal attacks, you are going to be dealing a lot of damage. Now of course, this is kind of a funny matchup because I know I'm going to get my combo, you know, the said Inefa skill to I know skill here very easily. I mean, my opponent, what are they gonna do? Not gather Yelan's burst. And of course for my opponent, they are gonna be able to gather Yelan burst because I have no way of stopping that. So, nothing really special here. Of course, we are gonna be playing Genius's upgrade for a bit of extra damage, even though, you know, there aren't any... Ideally, once again, you have some high cost with cards that demand multiple dice of the same elements, so you get maximum value out of Genius's upgrade, you know, the empowerment, but we only really have Aino's talent card that we want the empowerment on, so that card is easy to play, but it doesn't really matter. I played, of course, Seed Dispensary here, simply so that there's less electric shock on my cards. In Alpha Talent early from my opponent is very good, but all this actually really means for me is that I need to empty my hand here and now before the end of this round. Because this round they are able to burst the land, they are able to go to Flins and start doing a couple attacks. By the way, yes, I did do a copy of Genius's upgrade in so that if I decide to sacrifice, I know I at least would have maximum usage on the burst by, you know, now playing a Genius's upgrade to increase the usage by 1. Like so, you see there it gets 1 usage, so now sacrificing I know is no big deal. By the way, if you end up playing my deck, ideally Inifla is the first character you want to sacrifice, because Flins provides you damage, Aino provides you, if Aino has the talent card, Aino will provide you with extra damage, otherwise Aino will allow you to actually do reactions. Here you see we of course go for the Thunderous Symphony, mostly to stall a bit, but you can see here I only have 1 energy, but I'm still able to redo the elemental skill. Because once again, you gain that 1 energy, then it consumes 2 energy. You cannot do the Thunderous Symphony if you have 0 energy on Flins, then you cannot do Thunderous Symphony, but you only need 1 energy to be able to do Flins's the Thunderous Symphony prepare skill.
I will return.
But you can see here, simply by emptying my hand, my opponent is unable to, you know, attach any electric shocks to my card, and as such, there will be very little damage coming from the Yelan Burst Flins combo. Not to mention, I had pretty good setup here, you know, double Metochka, cost reducted. Gave me the capability of doing a lot of attacks last round. Of course here very simple, you can see I'm gonna be going for a Nefa burst. Now I did forget, it was not in this match where I play the weapon on the streams, but it should be in the next match, which is the last, but there should be the weapon, so you see the 6 damage prepare skill. So yeah, let's go check that out. Now I really hope I remember correctly, and I do have a game where I do equip the weapon and actually use it on Flins, and I'm hoping this is a game where I do that. Once again, keeping of course in Alpha Talent, because like said, that is +4 damage, especially against a Kave player who, you know, their hand is either full of arcane cards or very expensive cards. One or the other.
Let me
we are still going for the exact same setup here. Of course, now you can see I have quite the bad dice, so I will simply be going for a normal attack with Aino. Luckily it doesn't really matter since we had Genius's upgrade time, meaning we can burst Aino next round. You can also see here we want to tank the damage on Inefa.
Aino? Present!
Now of course playing the arcane here kind of wasted. I actually do decide to go for a skill here because they do switch characters. If they had not switched characters, I would not have gone for a skill. But like right here, playing the arcane, this is one of the rare cases where this arcane doesn't actually provide value, but like most decks where you want to play this arcane, you want to have like a lot of actually just a lot of cards that aren't 0 cost. My deck is kind of bad for that because this specific deck doesn't have that many expensive cards you could actually, you know, start stacking up the cost reduction on. Unfortunately, they do play the it doesn't show here. There it shows it. Vision's Ancient Paddle to take away my energy, and I wasn't even able to do a single skill with I know anyway, so it doesn't actually matter, but it's a bit of a shame. Because we have the Thundercloud, and I mean, we have no way of anyway doing any sort of extra damage here. We simply take out Mona, mostly so because now they are inclined to switch to I know, of course. And with I know, if they now switch, that's going to be easy damage on to Kave before Kave can do anything. And even if, now of course they do have the Bloom Go there ready, so if they were smart they would probably go for... Actually, no. Of course they want to do I know skill here. Simple swap stall.
Defensive mode engaged.
I had this fast action switch from I know skill from round 1 there. But now my opponent has ran out of dice here. So I switch. Now I go for Inefa Burst. Okay, I might have made the mistake and not saved any replay where I actually go for the 6 damage elemental skill, or the prepare 6 damage prepare skill. I do apologize. I was quite certain I had saved one, but appears I did not. Well, just trust my word, you can make it into a 6 damage. It's a real thing. Just because I forgot that I didn't actually save a replay with that scenario happening, it is a very real thing that you can do. And of course, because it works with Rightful Reward, you can combo also Adeptus and whatnot to make that prepare skill to deal a lot of damage, like Raiden's skill should also increase its damage. You can use all, like there's the, I don't remember the artifact, but there's the artifact that increases elemental burst damage. You can just stack up all of those onto Flins and suddenly your small little prepare skill will deal a whole lot of damage. Anyway, this was quite the quick look at Flins, of course, because the deck is nothing special. This was more just to hopefully inspire you to see for yourself how much damage you can deal with Flins's prepare skill. That's the only like really unique thing about Flins. Like you have 2 options with Flins. You can go for the burst route, just spam the very high damage burst, which Flins has, or you can go actually Flins has 3 different things you can do. You can spam the burst, which deals a lot of damage. You can spam normal attacks with Yelan burst, which is the best thing to combo with Flins's normal attacks. Or you can do a meme deck, which deals a whole lot of damage by doing that prepare skill and stacking up all of the cards and equipment, which increase elemental skill. Elemental burst damage. But yeah, anyway, that's all for today. I'll see you all next time.